Alright, continuing where I left off in part one, something about fixing, I think, but it doesn't really matter. It was just sort of this argument that, why bother, the futility argument, if it's not, I am claiming it's not fixable. The point is obviously it's better than nothing, right? I mean, half a pie is better than no pie kind of argument. So yeah, fix as much as you can of it. But yeah, the underlying argument is that the basic function of the living organism is not productive, especially when it's sentient. The whole point of creating sentience, basically the reason why it succeeded, is that it does create this deprivation. It creates this necessity to go into the world and get. It creates the need for it. It creates need. Need didn't exist in the universe until a sentient organism manifested it. And it's all our own creation. It's our own mess to clean up. So again, there is no, even if you don't want to consider it broken, the point is it needs resolution. And the reason why it needs resolution is because it creates the fog. It creates the problem that needs to be overcome. And this perception we have built into us, into basically the biology in some ways, it goes pretty deep. But it's certainly just a perception. You can see it as just a perception if you really want to look at it. If you really want to look, you can see it's just an ambition, just a notion in your head. And it's illustrated if you start to imagine the universe and imagine how you're not lamenting the absence of all the other living things in the universe that could be. All the could-be's you're not upset by. Their absence. And that should give you some indication that maybe you're talking out of your ego. You're talking out of, what manifests inside of you, not what manifests in the real world. When you talk about the necessity of the human struggle and the necessity of us doing this over and over and over again and continuing, you just don't want to admit it's a war you can't win, because the war is entirely internal. The war is entirely built by biology. It's a contrivance of your existence. It's not something your existence resolves. It's something your existence creates. And so the problem is you. The problem is your need. And you got to get over that if you want to be rational and philosophical and logical. So anyway, so the Stephen guy, they're more Stephen, whatever. More trash talking. He's talking out of depression. It's 75% of our lives. Blah blah blah. They cycle it through and call it their miserable life, or shall we say, life itself sucks. Never is it them who sucks. I said it, how many videos? Asshole. I mean, we're all assholes. We're all selfish motherfucking pricks. You're the ones who don't want to admit it. You're the ones who want to think your shit doesn't stink, who somehow what you're doing is just so profitable that there's no way it could be a losing proposition. A universe full of Stephens would just be so Mr. Cool all over the place, and it's all profit, all profit. And that's just a lie. And, so, you're the one fooling himself. And you're certainly fooling yourself in the context of the real world, where, the mediocrity is abundant, the desperate circumstances is glaring, and you're just walking over all of that horror and just pretending because you want to get to the candy store. And that's all it is. You want to get some wax for your Lamborghini. You're an asshole. If it sucks, doesn't mean to believe it matters. Something suffers. Okay, so that was it. Deny the Holocaust shit. So he's big on this Holocaust shit. You go to his homepage. He's got a bunch of videos favored by that Tolley guy, Edward Tolley. The little wimpy, faggoty, panty, wishy-washy, mishy-mushy bullshit. So we know where these phantasmagorical nihilists are coming from. Don't worry, don't see it. Just, find your, whatever. Itch your, sneeze your sneeze, itch your scratches. Don't worry about anybody else. Fuck you, everybody else. You selfish pricks. Anyway. Let's see, I don't know who this guy is, but let's see what happens. Well, you ended with something I've been trying to get to, the concept of being as process or becoming. Oh, whatever. This is just such a pile of religion. Being as process. I mean, it's just amazing. The process is cleaning your head full of the idiotic bullshit notions you have that it matters, like the drunk guy, whether the Lakers win the, whatever you call the basketball World Series. Who the fuck with a brain could give a fuck? Who the fuck who could care about, oh yeah, there's a few millionaires running back and forth, preposterously genetic mutations, 10-foot tall human beings running back and forth for millions of dollars are getting paid to put a little ball in a hoop. Yeah, that's what he rewards. He thinks it's a good idea for everybody to put on a sponge thumb and reward that instead of maybe rewarding somebody for curing cancer. But that's how much he gives a fuck about the universe or the world or anything else. You stupid cunt. Anyway. Ooh, X-Knowledge is free guy. Ooh, he's a real Skyzer. Ooh, man, this is a really dopey thread full of dopies. Let's see what the dopies are arguing. Man, it goes on forever. Where's the beginning of this thread? So, dopey number 1. Can anyone provide an answer to the simple question? If you could push the button and make the history of life on Earth have never happened, would you? Please justify your response. Well, you won't get anything. Why erase the massive store of information? Oh, information is cool. Yeah, all by itself. Information is just so fucking cool. It's just so... No, it really isn't. I mean, what if I go beep, 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 boop, 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 boop. There's the binary code for the name of the mineral inside the little pebble inside that concrete. Oh, yeah, that's just so interesting. No, it isn't. Anyway, knowledge, experience. If all we really have is now, then why... Well, all we really have is now. No, all you're doing right now is you're sticking knives in the future's head. You don't have just now, jackass. It's that kind of jackass thinking, that has us trillions of dollars in debt. You just give a shit about yourself. You don't give a fuck who you screw over in the future, and then you throw them into the future, and you advocate people making new people to clean up your mess. You shit on the floor, and then you make a slave to go clean it up. That's theoretically pretty much exactly what you think of what your job in the world is. Shit, and then create a new life form to go sit in your shit. That's how much you fucking suck as a human being. Then why throw away all of your tools because you think them as being something other than tools? So again, you're just all about your little toolkit, your little, oh, look how cool we are. We can scheme and connive. That's our biggest and greatest tool, isn't it? Scheming and conniving. Oh, gee, isn't that spectacular? We're the greatest schemers and connivers in the universe. Let's all just feel so good about that. Fucking creepy shit. I'm asking you to prove that having tools has more value than huge amounts of suffering. Well, they're not going to come close to doing that. There is less suffering today than there was last week. I don't know. Do you have evidence of that? The month before that, the year before that, and century before that. Big reason for that are the lessons learned from the suffering which preceded. Well, again, so that's not a true argument, okay? That what we've learned how to do is cling to life so desperately that we torture people, literally torture people. Okay, my grandmother died at 107, and the day she died, they did MRI diagnostic tests. On a 107-year-old woman, they did diagnostic MRIs. That's how insidious the system is. Okay, it's all about just keeping that little heart beating so they can pull some more money out of that corpse. You fucker. And you're telling me that's the better way of going? No, I'm afraid not. That is the purpose of suffering. Well, whatever. You say suffering has a purpose because you think survival for the sake of survival has a purpose. You think there's logic in that. Replication for the sake of replication. You think that's logical. Okay, you think that's how you construct a logical argument. It's just to say you do it because. And if somebody says because why, you just go because. Yeah, that's not logic. That's infantile thinking. Unless, like some, you think sticking your head in the fire over and over again is your destiny. Well, obviously you're going to stick somebody's head in the fire, so it's going to be somebody's destiny. And the point of my argument is, if I wouldn't live their life, I shouldn't support their existence. That would make no sense, right? If I wouldn't want to wake up in Indonesia, little whatever Hugo, born to slut and moron, why the fuck would I sentence Hugo to it? He's going to be just like me. He's just going to wake up on planet Earth and say, "Oh shit, this is the straw I drew." So how is it different? Realistically, it is sticking my own head in the fire if I just sit there and say it's okay. If I say witch burning is okay, and I know I could be born a witch, that would make me an asshole. It would make me an idiot, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be moronic of me? So the fact that you don't really understand that you just wake up here, somehow you think you're going to be immune to being the short straw picker, okay? Well, I don't think I'm going to be immune, theoretically. Okay? I think consciousness is going to experience it. And it doesn't matter whether it's my consciousness or Hugo's consciousness. They're going to have their head stuck in the fire, you fucker. Well, hand stuck in the fire. So that's the truth of it. And if you can't understand that, I don't know. I can't help you. But that just means you're dumb. You're just too stupid for communication. All right, your argument is false. Passage of time doesn't equal less suffering. Compare neither the world population, billions, most of them in poverty. That's right. And we have this ability to keep people alive. We have the ability to keep babies alive. When they're horribly malformed and underdeveloped. And what do? We keep them alive. And that's what we do to human beings. We give them just enough to survive. We've almost made it a science to keep people in perpetual malnutrition. Nothing I can say or show you will change the meme in your head. Yes, the meme of the realistic perception of what's happening on planet Earth. It's a bug planet substantially. And the only difference between us and the bugs is our skeletons on the inside. And we're insidiously conniving. So once again, the question is, with you people, why continue living? If it's all shit, why put yourself through more of it? Well, the argument is, I'm certainly not going to prevent any of it, am I? If I just bail out, I'm not going to be able to prevent you sending out another Titanic if I just sink with this Titanic, right? Somehow I have to survive the Titanic, swim back to shore, and stop them from sending another one out, don't I? Isn't that the only realistic prospect for salvation here? The only way I protect myself, protect the harmables from the harm? That's how generalized it really is. I'm a harmable, so I'm a harmable, you're a harmable, we're all harmables. We can do the Dr. Pepper song, okay? And if I'm putting them at risk, if I'm letting it happen, okay, then I'm not doing my job. My job isn't to save this one individual. My job is to stop Titanics from hitting icebergs, retard. Well, because it isn't all shit, and even a dimwit like you knows that, so what's your point? Look, you're going to say it's not all shit, but what part isn't shit? What part of your ambition is meaningful? The only thing you've recited so far is knowledge, that we all should be horny for knowledge, that somehow a knowledge is in it of itself valuable. No, knowledge is only valuable as a scheming. It's the fodder, it's the fertilizer for your scheming, malicious, selfish cunt behavior to get what you want, to satisfy your silly, stupid ambitions. So again, show me one of your ambitions that means something, that has any integrity. Recite to me a function you're going to perform that justifies your existence. Recite it to me. Show me a function, besides cleaning up a mess another human being made, that's worthy. Show me one. Can't do it. How do you know what memes are in my head? I don't consider my an AN or natalist as of now. I'm asking questions to see what answers I get, and you think I'm a dimwit, then why aren't you able to give me a proper explanation of my question? None of you responses or remotely answer them. Yeah, it's for certain. Anyway, unless you understand what addiction is and what Newton's second law is about, you will be convinced your largely self-created suffering is not. You will be convinced you're largely self-created. Suffering is not. Suffering to most people is what they call the experience of riding the roller coaster they have created by their inability to live properly. I don't even know what that means. But it doesn't really matter. I know what cancer is, and I know what dying is, and, whatever. I mean, all this mental crap, you're not going to get past some of this shit. I have a backache right now, and all my, detached thinking and, ways of interpreting the pain and just experiencing and riding with it doesn't change the fact that it just totally disrupts process. It's a very irritating mechanism, this pain mechanism. They go up and they go down. Some just stay down and become YouTube antinatalists. Well, again, so you just don't, you again think that if you're not riding an optimist unicorn, that somehow that's the lie, and that's a lie. So, I mean, it's just a stupid accusation. There's no point in even having the conversation if that's all you can do. If all you can say is, somehow you're just a bunch of depressed people who are depressing the world, like just, black glasses or something. Well, yeah, that argument is just so easily converted and just thrown right back at you. So what's the point of that one? I mean, that's just sort of a useless argument. The argument isn't about your mood or your disposition. The argument is what do you think when you see life? All right, are you looking at it realistically? Do you see the real context, the real mechanisms involved? And are you being realistic about the real jeopardy it creates? And I don't think you're being anywhere close to realistic. To avoid failure, they have decided to check out without killing themselves and then spend their time blaming the machine they created. Well, again, I'm not going to argue about any of this creation shit and all the rest of this stuff. It is a deterministic universe. You think you know otherwise, then I think you have a flawed understanding. I guess it's God or something. Because I don't really understand any of that much. Since they have given up as a compensation to living, of course they think the world is screwed. Well, again, you're just going to keep making the same argument. You're just going to sit there and keep, red baiting or race baiting or whatever, and saying that there's you're not going to deal with the explicit arguments. You're going to just say, it's not flawed, and I say so because it makes information, and information is intrinsically good. And that's just, that's about as babbly as babble gets. That's about as silly and incomprehensible to me as the Christian heaven. What do I make of that? Oh, I go to heaven and just hang out as a spirit. Cool. Not, probably. Of course, they see misery through their miserable outlooks. Unwilling to fail, the machine turns their entire lives into one failure after another. Well, again, I think I kick motherfucking ass compared to you, shithead. You can't even show your motherfucking cunt ugly face. I bet you can't make a video worth a damn. I totally kick your ass. You have to pay me like $1 billion, no, $10 billion. Yeah, to be you. Some kind of preposterous. You'd have to make me incredibly rich for me to say, oh yeah, I'd like to be that asshole. Even then, I still wouldn't want to be you because you're obviously too stupid to even know what to do with $10 billion. You'd sit there and buy a Lamborghini. You're a stupid motherfucking idiotic cunt. So yeah, all the money in the world wouldn't make it worth being you. Probably have a tiny little penis too. These clowns think they can escape the process. Well, again, it's not that hard to escape, and most of the civilized world is already escaping. They're already in their escape pod. And the only thing dragging the human race back to the sinking boat are the strings, the ropes we tied to those poor fuckers. The dumbest, ignorantest people on Earth are the only ones keeping the human race on this planet. Just like Easter Island, we'd all be heading out, heading south. Heading someplace else. We'd be gone. We'd just be the cement heads left behind if it wasn't for these poor scumbags, the most reckless and irresponsible of the procreators that you people put on some sort of pedestal. The sluts and the what do you call them? What do you call the pimps? Yeah. So the sluts and the pimps are driving the boat, and you're all for it. That's how much of a scumbag you are. You're voting for sluts and pimps. The only way they can hope to balance their problem is by constantly ragging on life. Well, again, you want to call it a rag. Oh, yeah, we're talking about evolution, and we're talking about consumption and reproduction and cannibalism and addiction and the basic function of natural selection as a gladiator war. Oh, and that's just ragging. It's not an argument you want to deal with. You can't deal with it with any kind of rational commentary. You just sit there and throw mud or call us ugly or do some kind of bullshit. You're just a fucking slandering, motherfucking, useless cunt piece of shit. Not them. It is life which sucks. Again, I mean, what has been said is suffering sucks. But yeah, of course. I mean, what is life? It's a replicating molecule. You don't get that? You actually think there's some kind of accomplishment in playing this king of the hill kind of fight. So you leave hundreds in pieces to get to your top, to hold up your sword and say, I win, and then die of testicle cancer. I'm just saying, you can't understand that if I actually made a literal game like that, it might be sensibly called suck. I mean, if you made a game that metaphored life pretty accurately, statistically, really did, give cancer to 6-year-olds. I mean, you played the game and you got cancer, they would probably label the game suck. Because it just fucking sucks. And you can't understand how that sucks? Then you're too fucking stupid. So petty, so juvenile. Oh, listen who's talking. So easily debunked. Yeah, easily debunked with nothing. Man up, pussy shit. I mean, what do I have to, what kind of money do I have to offer you to come up with something that's a debunk out of your mouth? I don't even care. Let's get the judges. I mean, Anticontavad, Pirro, and even, well, Greatex doesn't have any honor, so I can't trust him. But Professor Anton, let's say. We could take those 3 people, they could be the judge. And let's have a $1,000 contest and see if you can do anything coming close to debunking a fucking single one of my goddamn videos, you pussy shit. Because I don't think you can do it. And I don't think those people have enough dishonor to lie and say you did do it. Because I don't think you come close. I don't think you even come motherfucking close. Alright? So you gotta up your argument skills a hell of a lot higher than this. Alright, so we compile all your snarky, rude, disgusting comments, and we have Pirro look at those. You wanna put up the money? Alright, I'll put up my $1,000 against your $1,000. How about that, shithead? And we'll pay the judges whatever, $100 a piece, to look at your shitty, snarky, sack of shit commentary on the fucking internet and see if you've come anywhere fucking close to debunking a single argument. Anything close to what would be called a debunk. You have failed dismally, bullshit man. Yeah, that's what maybe it is, bullshit man. Under an assumed Stefan name. Anyway, how did I get to that guy and Miss Geyser? Oh, okay, that's how I'm going down this huge giant thread. Oh, this will take like the rest of my life. Anyway, Geyser is just so funny. Nope, and why? Question mark. There is no red button. You can't handle a thought experiment. Oh, it's too complicated for me. I can't make decisions like that. So if you want to speculate about doing anything in the universe, like building a spaceship and going into space, I can't make a judgment because, that's imaginary. We're not there yet, so I can't even judge that. Pussy. Fucking pussy. Little yellow panties. In order to get the red button would require the very thing for you to push it. In order to get a red button would require the very thing for you to push it. That doesn't even make any sense. Stupid smiley face lie. Yes, intelligence has been acquired because it's a tool in a gladiator war. That's right. Knowing which sword to pull when is an advantage in the fight, in the battle. But, and so yes, through intelligence we can ask interesting questions and suggest other people should try to come up with an interesting answer. Okay, this isn't an interesting answer. This is just a complete cop-out, a pussy cop-out. I'll take no responsibility, and that's all. So, yeah, pussy, coward, preposterous coward, can't even answer a simple question. If it was all on Geyser, if it was going to be his name tied to the whole creation game. He was going to be responsible for not just World War I and World War II, but let's say World War IV, where maybe 2 billion people die, and then the whole human race dies out because a meteor crashes into Earth. So if that's the reality, you would have been responsible for that complete and total waste of suffering. Centuries of human suffering and millennia of organisms eating other organisms, and it all would have been on you. And you can't just simply raise your hand and say, oh yeah, I would want that. I want to be responsible for all of that suffering, put it all on me. Well, you probably wouldn't care, because you know there's no cop to beat the motherfucking cunt shit out of you for being an asshole. So you'd probably say, go ahead and do it, because you're that much of a malicious, sadistic fucking asshole. Yeah, you really are. Evil as hell. Do in the morning. In order to get the red button, require the very thing you pushed to life. Or God, smiley face. So again, you can't do a thought experiment. It's beyond their comprehension that someday the human race would actually have a button that would end life. But you know, they can't even go to the movie theater or something and have some kind of like where a spaceship goes back in time or something. They can't even watch those kind of movies because no, that's just too silly. They can't even entertain it in their imagination. And then when somebody obliges them to do it for a specific purpose to accomplish a philosophical end, they really can't do it then. Then it's impossible. Pussy. No, it's more than a bit silly that you can't just answer the question. Yeah. Another question could possibly seem as confusing because it seems impossible to imagine making history not have happened. But if I asked, would you make another Earth, someone could say, well, I guess since humans already existed, it's not worth it to go through 4 billion years of life again. The point is to ask whether you think all the suffering has been worth human existence, having humans exist. Let's see, he'll evade it again, no doubt. The suffering can come in many forms, not just nerve endings. Mental pain can be just as painful, if you know what I mean. So again, how is this an answer to the question? Oh, that's right, it's not even close to an answer. Humans have pain for a reason, to avoid being killed. No, it's not to avoid being killed, it's to avoid being degraded. Alright, if you're a lion and you break your leg, you're not going to be able to hunt. So you have to have some mechanism to avoid doing damage to yourself. It's about doing damage. It's not about just being killed. It's about not getting damaged. Duh. It's apart from, I mean, really, what point would it matter if you could burn your hand off in a fire? So what? That's not going to kill you. So obviously it's not just about dying. It's apart from how we become top dog on planet Earth. Well, see, you can't really have a philosophical argument because you really don't even understand physics and chemistry here. But you know, so it's a part of how we become top dog on Earth. So again, you think there's some purpose in top dogging? Only the many ways to keep the life thing going. It says that we understand what life is. It says, no, to say that we understand what life is pretty much stupid. So again, we can't somehow understand a replicating molecule and natural selection. We can't understand those two mechanisms, and that's basically all there is to life. No, that's so we can't understand the implications of that. We can't understand that it does exactly what it does, and that no matter where you repeat the experiment, you isolate continents and you do it again, and you come up with the same mechanisms, predator, prey. Dawkins will explain that to you. You know, he's an evolutionary biologist. He'll explain that the same basic forms, even if life was to exist somewhere else, the same mechanisms will once again reoccur. The same relationships will end up being established. And maybe there'll be subtle differences, like you'll have antennas and you'll have this or that, but the basic game will be the same. Considering we're just getting used to the idea of living on a planet, you know, we're just getting used to, the real argument being made here is that we're obviously not getting used to it at all. We have made no concessions to reality. The environment is going to get basically destroyed by us. We're going to basically shit in our own water. So we're not gotten used to being anything close to civilized. and intelligent. And the point is the more important reality we're getting used to, people like me are certainly used to and comfortable with, is the idea that this is all just facade. There is no substance to this game, and there's no reason to play it. 30 years ago, we didn't even think other suns have planets. Whoops. Yeah, well, so that implies what? So again, you understand nothing. You're just such an ignorant sack of shit. You have absolutely no evidence that a DNA molecule exists anywhere else in the universe, not one shred of evidence. You can't make one. You can't make one yourself. So where did it come from, shithead? So I guess you know my answer by now. Well, what it came from was improbable chemistry. This isn't the function of the universe, you fucking retard. It's just replicating chemistry. It's what happens when a piece of chemistry replicates. It is not the function of the universe. You stupid asshole. It's a fucking fart of the universe. But that defeats being objectively correct. Whether you think all of the suffering was worth humans existing. For a start, life is just not humans. People really need to look upwards in books before using them the ways they should be. Well, you're the one who thinks that we have pain to stop us from being killed. So I guess you need to look up some shit, fuckhead. A tree is alive. You know it's arguing it's not alive. Obviously, when people usually talk about life that matters, they're talking about life that feels, retard. Does that mean we should chop down all the trees as well? Who would care? They're rocks. They're mineralogy. Trees are like a stalagmite. Okay? Does it matter whether I chop down all the stalagmites? The stalactite. Well, it doesn't matter. Just in case it ever evolves into sentient beings, well, I think seems a reasonable starting point, sure. See my point? There is more life on Earth not doing the pain game than are. Basic math. Yeah, and who cares? Again, nobody's making an argument even close to giving a fuck about what microbes are doing. But idiots like you who think somehow being a microbe with no brain is somehow purposeful. We'll call it life and say it's doing something important. No, it's not doing anything important. It's a piece of robotic chemistry. It's accomplishing nothing. It's doing nothing. It's just a stupid fucking fart of chemistry. It's a goddamn eddy in a stream. You don't put it on the wall and go, ooh, 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 ooh. What would have happened instead? Nothing. Nothing, or nothing that includes life, sentience, pleasure, suffering. I wouldn't press it because that would violate the prime directive. Well, there. Nice, serious answer. So you have to scapegoat to the Star Trek plot contrivances. And they were Star Trek, they were plot contrivances to make the show viewable, right? They had to create these mechanisms so they could make excuses, all right, for not actually having a show about what the realistic responsibilities are of our interaction in space, and the fact that there is no way to avoid the conflict. So again, this prime directive thing is just such a hilarious pile of shit. When is the prime directive violated? You know, when you invent tools, when you invent your own capacity to have more children than somebody else. Have you violated the prime directive when you decide to have 10 kids and somebody else only has 2 kids? Because we know where that's going to lead. Why do people find anti-natalism so extreme? You sound like a cult member, anyway. Because the approach taken by ANs is centered around death and stopping life. Well, again, where's that argument? That's just a lie. The argument being made is that life is death, you stupid fuck. Your life is going to be stopped. That's the argument being made. All right? We're just saying, why are you imposing this shit on victims? For any good reason? We're just asking you to answer a simple question. Why have kids? What rational reason besides a selfish reason? And we're saying selfish reasons aren't legitimate reasons to put somebody else at risk. You don't have a right to force somebody else to live your risk. Your risk. It should be yours. If you're going to risk something, the impact of the risk should be all on you, not on somebody else. Oh, that's a philosophy centered on death? No, I don't think so. as if life itself is intrinsically a fail. Well, the point is you're not making any other argument. You're not making a counter-argument demonstrating otherwise. I think it is fail. If it's just a bunch of self-interested, selfish, dumb fucking morons chasing silly, contrived ambition, then yeah, that's called failure, shithead. It is self-centered mental illness projected into all of reality. Well, whatever. Like I said, who's self-centered? I think it's you people who claim you have some sort of authority because the genetic molecule has composed you with the capacity to reproduce. You think you were authorized, that somehow you passed the test, that somehow you earned the ability to create life. You didn't earn that ability. You passed no test. And I'm just obliging you to take the test. I'm obliging you to explain to me what purpose will be accomplished by your creation, beyond enslaving some percentage of that creation to endure horror and pain and suffering only because you say so, not because you can articulate a function or accomplishment. Human beings perform no function in the universe. So when you perform no function, you can't consume any gasoline. It's just the rules, okay? I mean, if you have a car that doesn't work, you can't justify pouring gas into it. And until you can contrive or explain some function of the human race, you can't pour the gasoline of unwilling victims into it. Nowhere most people don't buy an AN message at all. Well, again, so it's the argument from popularity. So is that debunking? Is that you know, where you've completely whatever the word you use, the argument? You think Pirot thinks that's a brilliant argument? The argument from popularity? Why? Because it is BS is why. Well, I think with the why, again, so you're going to testify to the intelligence of the human race? Is that what you're going to say to me here? That okay, it's why is because it's BS. It's not because there's already BS in people's brains. Preposterous BS. Monumental BS. So I'm sure that in most political things and most other conversations, this same asshole says most people are assholes. And here he is using most people argument as the argument of credibility. So every time you argue against anything that most of the human race is doing, I'll just claim you're wrong, you're BS, because most people don't agree with you. I mean, that's how, you know, your argument's just so fundamentally broken. I don't find it extreme. I just disagree with it. Yeah, you disagree with it. Yeah, but no, yeah, this is it. I disagree. I'm allowed to fuck you over. No, you're not. So can you sum up the philosophy of why human existence is with millions of years of sentient creatures experience harmful suffering, including humans in most of their existence? I don't know. Ask every individual being whether its life was worth its own suffering. So again, it only matters what people think. So if the slave owner thinks he's kick-ass, he's cool, what he's doing is fine, then it's fine. You just ask the person if their life is worth living, and we're supposed to get an honest answer from them. They're supposed to know whether their life was shit or not. So if I go ask a wife-beater whether he's a good husband, he says, I'm a good husband, he's a good husband. No, I don't think so. Then sum up all the values. That will be the correct answer. Well, again, I don't think that's the correct answer. That's like saying, you know, if I only rape 1 in 100 women, well, gee, if you ask most women, they'd say, I'm fine, I'm cool. Just don't ask the one I raped. You know, that's how illogical that statement is. All right? It's not about what you got away with most people, because most people are ignorant assholes. Doesn't justify or defend you against the accusation that they're assholes and that the people you did fuck over have a claim against you. I mean, you're a crook. You're selling shit. You're selling a faulty, dangerous product, and you don't want to take responsibility for that. You're merely claiming that life is an individual who suffered wasn't worth it, but that's just your opinion. Well, again, it's an opinion backed up with logic, you stupid fuck. You're not allowed to do that in the world, okay? By your logic, I could make broken nuclear power plants because I'm only going to kill a small percentage of the human race, so it's okay. There's only a small percentage that are going to get imposed upon, so it's okay. I can make faulty nuclear power plants, and there's no, you don't have, and you have no, it's just your opinion that it's wrong. It's just your opinion that I shouldn't be allowed to do that. You can't see this logic here. You know, you can't see. I mean, you type this shit. I mean, you type this shit. I mean, I just talk these videos. You actually take the time to type this shit, and you get a chance to look at it before you press the send button. And you send shit this stupid. This is a fucking imbecilic argument, retard. I mean, it can't be, the logic you applied in this argument can't be applied in any other circumstance, because if you applied it, it would be glaringly idiotic. So you think that whether an individual life had positive value is subjective? I can see there being gray areas when it comes to human semi-intelligent life, but surely you can say the existence of the dinosaurs was a negative. Subjective or objective is irrelevant here. Well, I don't think it is. Whether an individual's life is worth living can best be judged by the individual themselves. Well, that's your theory, but what do you base that theory on? In what case do the individuals themselves have the best judgment? No, what gives you good judgment is logic and intelligence and knowledge. So until you make these people knowledgeable and intelligible, what's good is their opinion? You mean you're going to have me ask a Christian what they think of their life when they think God created them? Well, of course they're going to think they're alive. But what if I gave them if I told them I have absolute proof that God doesn't exist, and then asked them the question, you know they'll answer it just the other way, right? So if I premise the argument that there is no God and there is no heaven, then they will say that life sucks because they're so devoted to the God. So even by your own standards, you'd probably get the right answer from most people if you just kill the fantasy they're basing their answer on. The fantasy that they are actually playing a sensible game, a game created by a God. Take away their God and most people will say life does suck, shithead. I bet you. Because they are the one who know their life best. Well, how do they know anything? They don't know what planet they're living on. So how can they know their life when they don't even know the context of their life? I mean, that's the whole fucking argument here, you stupid imbecile. All right, if they knew the real context of their life, the fact of what they really are, bacteria with brains, gladiator fighters, I don't think this would be a conversation we'd have to have. But they don't know those facts. They have other silly leprechaun facts in their head that delude them into thinking there's rainbows with gold at the bottom of them. That's why you can't claim that just because someone suffers, their life is not worth living. You are not in the best position to judge it. Well, I mean, as good a position as anybody else. I mean, really, it's just stupid to say I can't judge it. Okay, it is what we are in the context of our existence, and we can all be judged by each other. And you have no objective criteria to judge. Of course we have objective criteria. I mean, that's the whole point we're arguing here. These are objective facts. You have cancer. That's a fact. Okay, there's lots of objective facts. I mean, shit, not complicated. I now see that my original question was not simple, but I know at least a few people here would say that human existence is worth the suffering of evolution, and I wanted to see their reasoning. The problem is the subjective thing. While there may not be an objective way to decide how much suffering is tolerable, we can make generalizations. Most people would agree 1 minute of laughter is not worth 1 year of getting kicked in the balls, so it seems the value is purely subjective. But yeah, I don't even agree that it's purely subjective. I mean, it's purely a contrivance of what your optimism is, really. Isn't that really the question you're asking? Is whether you think there's more to get done, or more to be accomplished, or you have more desire to satisfy. If you're hungry, you're going to want to keep the cafeteria open. I mean, it's that obvious, right? I mean, you're going to want to extend the hours of the McDonald's if you're, get out of work late and, you want to get there and get your hamburger. Then you're going to try to contrive a way to make them stay at work longer so they can make you your hamburger. But that's all that's really going on here, is people are invested in what they think they need to accomplish, which usually is something stupid like pretending they're cool. I mean, I just know, there are people just thinking, I know, well, tomorrow maybe I'll be cool. Okay, I've sucked my whole life, but yeah, maybe tomorrow I'll be cool. Worth is subjective. This is the mistake you are making. Well, again, says you. So, by that statement, somebody can, again, they can just say slavery's okay. They can say a Holocaust to kill all the Jews. Jews don't matter. And it's a subjective, entitled to their opinion. They're not entitled to their opinion. It's an unreasonable opinion. There's reasonable and unreasonable things that can be stated about value, about suffering, about conscious experience. There's reasonable and unreasonable things, and those are directly correlated to the truth, to the facts. The fact is, some suffering is horrific, and that's just a fact. It has value. You can't take it away by pretending it doesn't. You can't take it away by glorifying your own petty little fucking weaselly ego. You crazy bastard, and you are a crazy bastard. The prime directive is not just a set of rules, it's a philosophy. He's just quoting Jean-Luc Picard. It's just so stupid. I mean, well, even the cliche that it's built on, right? History has proven again and again that whenever mankind interferes with a less developed civilization, no matter how well intentioned that interference may be, the results are inevitably. So it's a maybe use is inevitably disastrous, and that's just not true. I mean, we see that somebody can interfere right now and stop a Holocaust or stop slavery in another country. There's all kinds of, we've stopped child labor in a large part of the world. I mean, it's still thriving in the slave countries, but I'm just saying there's huge amounts of improvements that have been made through interference. Polio vaccines, smallpox eradicated on Earth. So it's not inevitably disastrous. It's just a lie, okay? It's going to be disastrous if you give capitalists the agenda, if you sell the agenda to the capitalists. Or like a charity, sell it to the Skeizers. Have Skeizers go, pay Skeizers a premium to go, solicit money. Yeah, then it will fail. If you turn into a capitalist enterprise, then failure is probably going to be what you're going to get. But anyway, this is another preposterously long video, so I think I shall end it here. Well, we can do 2 more Skyzer comments. I think what Lud, that's probably a good name for him, was trying to say at 5 minutes was, you spoiledy fucking brat, LOL. Good video. Well, again, that's not really an argument, is it? No, it's not even close to an argument. It's outside the boundaries of anything that we call it. It's just ad hominem attack. So again, who cares whether I was a spoiled brat or not? What does it have to do with the fact that you can't make a counter argument, retard? Oh, that's right. It has nothing to do with the fact that you can't make a counter argument, retard. Mathematical value is subjective, and subjective worth is what confuses depressed people like Mendham. Sadly, they fucking suck at logic. Now, well, obviously, as you have proven, you don't know what you can't even come close to what logic is. You think we have pain to stop us from dying. That's not logical. You think the DNA molecule came from outer space. That's not logical. It was created through abiogenesis. Even if it came from outer space, it was abiogenesis somewhere that created the first replicating molecule. And we see what the replicating molecules do. They only do one thing, and that is they create gladiator wars. Yeah. So, different tools, but the tools are always going to be the same. Tear somebody else's skin off and eat their guts. Yeah. So, you fail dismally. Piece of shit. Alright, so enough for another video. Put this on. This one's safe, I think. I don't think I did anything hysterically horrible here. Alright, so this one will be on the FList channel. So there are 3 parts. 1 part on Brett Keane video, 1 part on my website, and this part on YouTube full list. Yeah, that's it. Till next time and such.